All right, before we get started, who here in this room thinks that they could be a national champion? Team USA member, world champion.
On a good day.
Multiple sport world champion. Olympic champion?
Unless they have beer pong.
So what if I told you that
attitude.
someone sitting in this room once sat in your seat 20-some years ago? Maybe 30? 20-some.
20-something.
That is Erin Jackson. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out with a little bit of background with Erin, get into some of her training, what got her here, and some mindset and goal setting to kind of break down what she thinks and break down the philosophies of what she went over yesterday. All right? So, Erin.
Mikey.
So, let's break down. I know you didn't start skating until around 10 years old, so how did your athletic journey look?
Yeah, I would say growing up, I wasn't what I would consider an athlete. I was more of a big nerd. So when I was young...
Was?
I'm still a big nerd.
Okay.
But yeah, when I was younger, my parents kind of tricked me into being a nerd by making me think that books were really cool toys. So I would always ask for books and carry books around with me. So I wasn't really an athlete as a kid. I didn't look up to athletes like, I don't know, whoever were the athletes at the time. But I looked up to people like Mae Jemison. She was the first black woman to go into space. And I was like, I want to be like her. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. And my mom was really into like the frilly tutu stuff when I was younger.
Yep.
So I was a pageant kid from 10 months old to 10 years old. And I did all that sort of stuff like tap and ballet and acting, all the fun stuff. And then when I was 8, I got into artistic skating, just kind of like figure skating on roller skates. Did that for 2 years. And then my mom met Renee Hildebrand, and I became an inline skater. And from there, it's like I found something I really, really love to do.
So once you started doing inline skating, were you doing other things at the same time or just dedicated just to inline?
Yeah, school mostly. Like school's always my main priority, and then I would show up to practice when I didn't have too much homework.
Well, the cool thing too is we have Renee here who started Erin's inline career. So she's been with her since she was 10 years old, all the way up till today. So is there something that Renee told you maybe as a kid that you thought was little then, but come to realize still sticks with you today?
I feel like it was all about Renee's presence and her, just like her style of leading us. Mm-hmm. It made us really want to be the best for her, if that makes sense. Like she just had this really motivating presence where every time we show up to practice, it's like, oh, I want to be like better than I was yesterday to impress Renee. Yeah. So yeah, she was just like a really motivating person, a really amazing coach, and she helped us believe in ourselves. Like she made us know that, because she believed in us so much that we believed in ourselves enough to know that we could accomplish anything we wanted to do. And I feel like I really carried that forward in my life. Like for example, like she didn't make us cocky athletes, but she made us confident athletes. She made us confident in ourselves because we put in the work to know that we could accomplish anything we wanted to. So when I moved out to Salt Lake City, I had the mindset of it wasn't, will I ever be great at this? It's how long will it take for me to be great at this? So that simple reframe of not like, can I do this, but like, excuse me, but like, how long will it take to do this?
Well, we're actually going to talk about that reframing here in a little while, because I know we talked about that quite a few times yesterday when we were watching some of the kids out there doing their drills. So with that foundation you were talking about, let's talk about your inline career. How did that start? How did it kind of progress, and how is it now?
My inline career, I was the one-lap wonder for the longest time. Like, I would be the first one to the cone and then kind of disappear into the pack. So yeah, I always had a pretty good start. I ripped the mounting blocks out of a couple boots when I first got going on inlines. And then, yeah, I went to my first nationals, I think when I was 12. This was like in 2004. Had a great time. I think I got like second or whatever at JO Nationals or JO Elementary.
For those of you that don't know, that is beginner.
They don't have JO anymore.
No, sorry.
Beginner freshman ladies, girls. And yeah, I went to my first outdoor nationals in, I don't even know, 2005, I think. Yeah, had a good time there. And then made my first world team in 2008. So I think I only had 2 years of junior, 2008, 2009. Yeah, and then I was a senior in 2010 when I was only 16. The ages were different back then.
Times change.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, at what point did you realize, oh, I could be really good at this? Like, I could be dominant. What point did you realize that?
I don't know if I ever made that thought explicitly. I think it was more about I was enjoying what I was doing, and I had that competitive nature that Renee brought me up with. So it wasn't, I don't think I was explicitly thinking like, oh, I can dominate this sport. It's like I enjoyed getting better at it and I enjoyed winning. So I just wanted to keep doing that.
Did any of that winning or doing so well so frequently add any pressure internally, externally, and how did you handle that?
That's a good question because I know what I would answer for my mindset around it now, but I don't remember my mindset back when I was younger. But I know that I did puke before most of my races, just like Joey. But yeah, so I guess I used to get super nervous, but I'm not really sure when that switch happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we're kind of up to like teenage years, and then you decide to go to school?
You're talking about when, like, to college?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was a senior in high school, the recruiters from US Speed Skating had come out to our national championships for a couple years before that, and they were trying to, get us all to come out to Salt Lake City. So my senior year, I went to my teachers, and I was like, I have this decision to make. Like, I could go to college now and, start my career, kind of step away from skating.
Yep.
Or I can move out to Salt Lake City and try to make it to the Olympics. And all of my teachers told me, try to go to the Olympics, you're only gonna be young for so long and you can always go back to school. But I still had this mindset that school is the most important thing, like going to school, getting a good degree, getting a good career. So I didn't listen to my teachers. I went to college. I went to the University of Florida until I went from 2011 to 2015. And then when I graduated, that's when I finally decided to switch over to ice. So a little bit late. I was like 24 when I first went to ice.
So when you initially went to college, what were you thinking that you were going for?
Like the degree?
Yes.
Yes. So I actually went to an engineering high school. Okay. So I knew from a young age that I wanted to be in something that was like math or science. Because I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. So then I went to an engineering high school, and then wanting to be an astronaut kind of morphed into maybe wanting to design the things that astronauts use.
Yeah.
So I landed on materials engineering, and that's what I studied at the University of Florida.
So with that engineering background, how or do you use any of that when you think about your training, your technique, your preparation, anything that's involved with skating?
I think it's more the analytical mindset that made me want to be an engineer, and that's what I use because the sport of long track speed skating is really, really technical. So I use that analytical mindset to really break down my technique and be able to analyze it and figure out how to tweak things. So that involves a lot of video review.
Yeah, awesome. So we brought up the ice very briefly. Let's transition to that a little bit. So a lot of people think she went to ice. She was amazing at inline. She's going to pick this up. It's going to be a super easy, super smooth transition, lateral transition. It wasn't.
It wasn't. So I made the transition fairly quickly, and I feel like that's what people really focus on. But it wasn't like I just walked out there and it was super easy and I walked onto the team.
Yeah.
I put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. I was training on the ice probably 2 to 3 times more than everyone else who was out there because I didn't like not being good at it because I was really not good. So yeah, I just wanted to put in enough time so that I could make up for all the time I missed because I started when I was 24. So I really put in a lot of time and effort to try to progress in the sport as quickly as possible. So I was learning from whoever was really willing to teach me anything, even if it was a little kid who saw something that I could do better, then I would thank them and I would try to apply what they were telling me. So like I said yesterday, really just humbling myself and being willing to learn from anyone and everyone, and then taking all that in and trying to apply it on the ice.
So made you say yes to trying ice in the first place? What was the mindset behind that?
So I guess I'll tell you how my first steps on the ice went, and there's a video of this online.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So I was in the Netherlands training with their inline national team.
Okay.
And I was there probably 5 months for this one summer and fall. And then at the end of this time that I was there, the skater who I was staying with asked if I wanted to go to the ice rink, because that's what they do. Like, we hang out at the skating rinks like this, they hang out at the ice rinks. So I was like, okay, sure, I would like to go try ice, but I didn't have any equipment, so she helped me get ice skates and everything, and then we just went to the rink. And that's where that video is from. It's just like some random day at an ice rink in the Netherlands. This was like September of 2016. And yeah, the video, I just look like Bambi on ice. And it's terrible, not very skillful skating. But the people back in Salt Lake City at US Speed Skating saw this video and they're like, this is terrible. Why don't you come out to Utah and we can teach you how to actually do this? So I took them up on the offer, and in February of 2017, I went out to Salt Lake City for a month, and then I still wasn't convinced.
Yeah.
So when I left Salt Lake City, I came back home, raced inlines that whole summer, and then end of September, I decided to come back to Salt Lake City, give it another shot, and that's when I was there through the end of that season and ended up qualifying for the Olympic team in January.
Yeah, so I've got a timeline here. So September, she fully committed to ice, qualified for the first Olympics just a few months later. And how'd that Olympics go?
I had an amazing time. It was a lot of fun. There was zero pressure on me because I wasn't even supposed to be there. There was like an article that someone wrote explaining all the ways they could tell that I was new and didn't know what I was doing. I was like, well, thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, I needed help getting on and off the ice and things like that because I was so new to the sport. It was almost embarrassing, but I had a really good time. I think there were 31 or 32 competitors in my race and I got 24th, so I was pretty happy with it. At the games, I got the flu.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I got the flu, so I was in quarantine back before quarantine was cool. And so not the best setup to my race, but I still feel like I performed pretty well and I had a great time. I learned a lot, and I think it did a lot for setting up that mindset of wanting to come back and really crush it.
So the big thing here too is you got 24th in the world after months, and then just 4 years later, you're an Olympic champion. So I kind of want to break down the steps here in just a minute, but the big thing that stands out is the mindset piece, because at the trials, you technically didn't even qualify the trials, but your teammate and friend did probably one of the most selfless acts in sport.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of go through that, what your mindset was, and kind of explain that a little more depth than you did yesterday to everyone?
Yep. So I guess leading into that moment, the steps going from 24th to first in the world, it wasn't just like kind of a night and day difference. Like, we had 4 years in between with world championships in between. So the Olympics, that was my first international competition for ice. That was my third rink that I had ever skated at, because I lived and trained in Salt Lake City. We went to Milwaukee for the Olympic trials, and I had never raced internationally, ever. So I just show up to the Olympics as my first thing. So it was pretty wild. So I had my first World Cup, which would be like an invitational for, because invitationals have international skaters too. Yep. So I had my first World Cup after the Olympics. And so I finished that season with the World Championships and got 16th. So I went from 24th to 16th. And then at the next World Championships, I went from 16th to 7th. So I've got this increasing trajectory. And then the next year it was COVID. So I didn't actually compete at the World Championships that year. a series of unfortunate events. I took a bungee cord hook to the eye, and that kind of took me out of that season. But my eye is fine. I can see just fine now. But yeah, so then I didn't really know where I stood going into the Olympic year after being, 7th place 2 years prior. But I went into that Olympic year, the first World Cup of the season, I won the World Cup, just kind of, out of nowhere. I didn't know what to expect because I hadn't been racing at that level in over a year. So it was really exciting to come away with a win for that first World Cup back. And then I just kind of kept that train rolling, and I won a majority of the World Cups that season. So then fast forward to the Olympic trials in 2022, this same year. I go into the Olympic trials ranked first in the world after winning a majority of the World Cups. And I just needed to be top 2 in the country to qualify a spot on the Olympic team. So I'm like, okay, I'm first in the world. I just have to be at least second in the country. This should be not too hard.
I got this.
Yeah, I got this. But with the sport of long track speed skating, and especially in a race like the 500 meter, you have to be perfect because the margins of victory are like hundredths of a second sometimes. So any little mistake and you're out of the running. So I go into the race just as normally as usual, but then on the back stretch of the race, which would be like basically halfway through the race, I had this really big slip that really took me out of it. So I ended up finishing up the race, looking up at the scoreboard and seeing that I hadn't finished in a top 2 position.
Yeah.
So my mind is just reeling, like, what does this mean? Like, I'm not going to the Olympics, ranked first in the world. Like, how is this even possible? And Brittany comes to me and she says, so this is Brittany Bowe. I guess if people remember her, she was an inline skater.
I think we're
yeah,
we're a little young for remember Brittany as an inline.
I think she retired in maybe 2008 and then went to college. But she, like when I was growing up in Ocala, skating back on Team Florida back when I was a kid with Renee, Brittany Bowe was this amazing world champion. Like she was just dominant at the world championships every year. And I thought it was just the coolest thing that she would come home and skate on the same team as me, like at the same rink that I did. Yep. So I was like, this amazing person is like right here in front of me. So I really looked up to Brittany ever since I was 10 years old. And she was just an amazing friend and mentor to me all the way through that time. And then she switched to speed skating on ice in about 2010 after she had graduated from college. And by the time I went out to Salt Lake in 2017, she was already a multiple-time world champion and world record holder on the ice as well. So she's already a veteran in the sport at this time, and she's continued to be a really great friend and mentor to me through my ice transition. So then, flashback to this Olympic trials when I've just failed to make the Olympic team, Brittany comes to me and says, Erin, like if there's anything that I can do, you will be on this Olympic team. She said, we need you for Team USA. Because a medal for one of us is a medal for all of us, and a medal just really elevates the whole team. So Brittany went to the race officials, and she declined her spot in that distance because she had actually won the 500 meter race that day. So she declined her spot, which moved me up into an Olympic qualifying spot, and then I was able to go compete at the Olympics. So it was a really, really selfless thing to do because I don't know if any of you can imagine someone giving up like an Olympic starting position for you, but that's what she did for me.
After winning the race.
After she won the race, and she gave up her spot for me, and that's what allowed me to then go on to the Olympics and bring home a gold medal.
Awesome. So I kind of want to get to the training and transition a little bit into that to how you got from 24th all the way up to number 1 in the world. And the big thing I want to hit on is your path wasn't linear with that at all, right?
No, it wasn't a very linear path. There are definitely some ups and downs. So my first season of World Cups, so there's an A division and a B division with long track speed skating. The A division is the top 20 skaters in each distance. So my first season, there's another skater named Heather Richardson from your team, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Heather Richardson, all these old names that all these kids probably don't know.
Oh, by the way, we need a drink.
Oh, yeah, everyone take a sip of water.
Me and Erin were just talking about that before we started, and we failed the mission at first, so we'll be better.
We're going to take
promise.
sip breaks.
Every time we drink water or coffee, sip. We'll be better.
I took 2 sips.
All right.
So Heather Richardson, had just retired after the 2018 Olympics, so I ended up acquiring her A group starting position. So it's like I hadn't earned an A group spot, but I got to be in the A group because Heather had just retired and I took her spot. So I started that season in the A group, and then I was able to stay in the A group the whole season. And, you know, finishing around like 16th through 18th pretty much consistently. So that was a really great starting season for me. I was really happy with that. But then the next season, I somehow forgot completely how to skate. And I was like, I was like bottom of the B division the next season. So I was like, how did this happen? Like, how did I go from having a really great first season out of the gates to being like reverse podium?
We call that a sophomore slump in sports.
Yeah, it was rough. Because with speed skating on ice, it's like everything is so technical. And if you forget one thing, then it's like, I don't know, it kind of falls apart. So yeah, I went from a really great season to a really bad season. And then just had to really work my way back and break things down back to the fundamentals. So the fundamentals are super important. If you lose that, then you lose like the whole foundation of your skating. So I had to take it back to the basics, relearn the fundamentals. And then that's the season where I progressed back up to finishing in 7th place. So I went from bottom of B group to 7th place all in one season, which was a pretty, it felt pretty nice to be able to do that and to be able to, you know, find that momentum again. So yeah, I forgot the rest of your question. You said it wasn't linear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So can you break down what a typical training schedule looks like for you on the ice? Is it just go as hard as you can every session 6-7 days a week? Is it structured? Can you kind of break down for everyone what a true training week, month, block looks like?
So our training is very, very organized, very structured. So we have what's called a macro cycle, which allows us to look at the whole season, like as a whole, and see what we're going to be doing from like block to block to block. And a block is basically a smaller subset of your training cycle. So we normally have one block would be 3 hard weeks followed by 1 easy week. And then as we get later into the season, it can change to 2 hard weeks and 1 easy week. So that's a training block. And in the summer, I think the summer would be too hard to describe. So I'll explain what our blocks are like. Yeah, the summer is a whole different beast. But once we get onto the ice, our on-ice season is normally September through March. So once we get on the ice, we have a really structured, like you could ask me what I'm going to be doing on like some random Tuesday in October, and I can tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing because our seasons are so structured. So on a Monday in the ice season, we will have dry land training in the morning, and then we'll have technical speed on the ice in the afternoon. So tech speed, that's kind of like race simulations, but at sub-maximal speeds. So I'll go out there and skate, like if I'm training for a 500, I'll go out and skate 320-meter efforts, but just the way I would if I were in a race. So I would prepare the same way, do the same lane changes, do the same arm swing, everything. So it's just like simulating your actual race structure. And then Tuesdays, those are our priority training days. So we'll be on ice in the morning and then in the weight room in the afternoon. So the ice in the morning, that's when we're doing the harder efforts, like solo max efforts. So that looks like what we call a tempo. So I could go out and do like a 1-lap tempo as hard as I can, get a time for that. Then I can go out and do a 2-lap tempo as hard as I can, get a time for that. And then depending on the day, we might do that a couple more times. And then sometimes we'll finish with group efforts where we might do like 3 or 4 times 500-meter max efforts as a group. And one thing to know about ice skating that Renee touched on earlier is that our sessions aren't going to be as long or as seemingly hard as what you do on inlines, because with inlines, the training is more cardio heavy. On ice, it's more like, what's the word?
Muscular.
It's more muscular and more like nervous system heavy, like more like neurologically heavy. So we're not able to be out there doing these extra long sessions because then your technique starts to break down and then it gets dangerous out there on the ice. So when I first moved over to Salt Lake and started training on the ice, I'm like, oh, this is easy. Like, this is crazy.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I can do this all day. But yeah, then you realize that, yeah, if you get tired out there, it gets a little dangerous. So Yeah, we'll
You have
do.
these big knives on your feet.
Yes, everyone is equipped with 2 very sharp weapons on their feet, so you don't want to fall, and you don't want to fall in front of someone. So then let's skip to the next day. Wednesday mornings are what's called extensive training. So we'll be on the ice and do longer, slower intervals, or sometimes even shorter, slower intervals. Like we might do 16 500s, but just working on technique. So we're emphasizing being extra low with everything. So just really overemphasizing our technique on those days. So that's not a hard training day. The point is to not go nice and slow and stay nice and low. And then Wednesday afternoons, we'll have a bike ride, and that's where we work on our lactic threshold, because the lactic acid is what builds up in your legs, and that's what causes pain and fatigue when you're skating. So we do certain intervals to kind of raise our tolerance for that lactic acid. So that we do that on Wednesdays, and that's normally, we'll bike 4 minutes up a mountain, and then ride down the mountain, and then 4 minutes up the mountain, and then ride down the mountain, and we'll do that about 8 times.
How fast do you ride down that mountain?
I ride very slowly down the mountain because I am no daredevil, but my teammates, they completely bomb down the mountains. And I feel like I tried to do that one of my first times, and I just like fishtailed and fell off my bike, so.
Plane failed.
Yeah, so now I ride the brakes all the way down. And then Thursday is our active recovery day, so we'll only have 1 training session that day. And it's just whatever you want to do on your own. So you can go for a bike ride, for a run, for a swim, for a hike, anything like that. I just started doing Pilates. So that's my Thursday activity, doing Pilates and then getting a massage. And then Friday is more of our specific, like race or sprint specific day. So we'll do like starts and just very short efforts like that. One of my favorite things we do on Fridays is called drag racing, where it's like a 300-meter effort. We start in a pack, and then once you get to like the finishing stretch of the race, then you race everyone in your group down to the finish line. And I really love doing that because, I don't know, it's just fun.
Because it's like this.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like I miss racing head to head. And then Friday afternoons, we'll do a bike ride, but a much easier one. It's like maybe a 30-minute bike ride with some intervals just to kind of flush your legs. And then Saturday mornings are just like Tuesday mornings, where it's a priority day. We'll do max efforts, both individual and in a group. And then Sundays, we get completely off, and then we start the week all over again.
So that was a really good breakdown of the physical training, and I know you mentioned something yesterday about the mental training. So mental toughness, do you think that's something you're born with, or can that be trained? What's your thought on that?
I think it can definitely be trained. I think Renee did a really good job of training that mental toughness in me, and then also my parents. I think I was really fortunate to have a great support system when I was young.
So with that mental mindset, I guess, we kept coming across this reframing thing yesterday. Mm-hmm. So can you let everybody know what you mean by reframing?
Reframing. So let's describe it with some examples. So let's say I'm at practice and my legs start to burn a little bit, or I start to get a little bit tired. Then it can be easy to think, oh, I'm too tired, I should probably stop. But what I try to think is, okay, now the training has started. Everything before that point is just my warm-up. But when it starts to get hard, that's when I'm actually training, that's when I'm actually progressing to get better. So that simple reframe can kind of, get away from thinking like, oh, it's too hard for me to continue. And it gets you thinking, okay, now we're actually getting started. And then another reframe is like, if someone's telling you to warm up before your race or something, don't think, oh, I have to warm up. Think like, oh, I get to warm up. I choose to warm up. Or, if someone's saying go out and do 1,000-meter repeats, like, oh, I have the opportunity of doing 1,000-meter repeats. This is awesome. Like, I get to train doing this thing that I love. I don't know. I've always loved skating my whole life. So that simple reframe of like, oh, I don't have to do this, but I get to do this. I choose to do this.
Can you give a real-world example with you, something that may have went not so well or terribly wrong, where you had to reframe and get your mind back?
Yeah, I would say anytime there's a race that doesn't go your way, it's really easy to think, wow, that sucks, or I suck. But just like I was talking about yesterday, just kind of reframing and thinking every race is a learning opportunity, whether you win or whether you lose. I actually think you learn a lot more from your losses than from your wins, and what I'm always trying to do is learn. Like if I have a race that I think is perfect, that's not a good thing, because I always want to find something to get better at. So a perfect race, I think, is more of a loss than losing, because when I lose, I can have something to build on.
So losing is okay?
Losing is awesome.
Okay.
And you know what else is awesome?
What?
Trying. It's really cool to try.
But what if you try and you lose?
If you try and you lose, then I think you've still won because you've learned something.
I completely agree with that. So we got a few minutes from Gypsy. So let's kind of get into the goal setting real quick, because I think this is a big thing that everybody needs to hear, because you kind of broke down yesterday how to set SMART goals, but can we get into how you set them to kind of give some real world examples? So how do you set your daily, weekly, monthly, annual, just your mindset behind those goals and how you actually set those?
Right, so let's say that, all right, so I am an Olympic champion in my sport, but I've never been a world champion on the ice. At the World Championships, I've gotten 5th place, like for this whole quad. So I won in 2022, and then 2023 I got 5th, 2024 I got 5th, 2025 I got 5th, and then at the Olympics I got 5th again, which was pretty lame. But so
reframe, ma'am.
It's not ideal, but it gives me something to work off of, because it kind of feeds that fire to want to get a medal at the World Championships, like something I have not accomplished yet. So Brittany, she likes to pick on me. We like to pick on each other. So whenever someone will like say, oh, Erin's an Olympic champion, Brittany will be like, but she's not a world champion. And it is very true. So I have a goal of at least getting on this world championship podium in an individual distance for long track speed skating. So to break that down, I guess my big goal would be to be an Olympic champion again. So that's my big dream,
yes.
Right? Olympic champion. So let's break that down into a season goal, which is to get on the world championship podium. And then I can break that down into little habits that I can do each day. So for me, that's really making sure that I show up to practice with a plan and ready to train. So we get our training plans in advance. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. But then I have my personal goals. Like I'm going to approach each effort like going into it thinking like, okay, I'm going to sit low. I'm going to push to the side. I'm going to think about this cue or that cue. So I go into each effort with intention so that I'm not wasting efforts, because we're not out there all day. Like we don't have all day to keep doing effort after effort. So I go into each one knowing what I'm planning to accomplish. And I think that's a really helpful thing.
I think you used a really big word in that.
When?
Intention.
Intention. Is that a big word?
No, like a very powerful word.
Oh, okay. I was
Being
like,
intentional.
I was like, I don't know how to define it.
We'll get back into the goals, but I think a lot of people go into even goal setting, training, everyday life.
A little willy-nilly.
Yeah, a little willy-nilly, not with intention. How does that intention change goal setting?
It's, I think, one of the biggest things with goal setting, because you have to know what you're trying to accomplish. Like you have to have a grasp of what you're actually trying to do. So I think really taking the time to flesh that out and come up with like a daily goal set, a daily plan, daily habits, that goes a long way for reaching those big goals. Because I think a lot of people just want to skip steps. They want like the fast and easy shortcut to being a champion, but that's not how it works. Like you have to work on these daily habits again and again and again to get to that next level.
So let's strip away all the titles, championships, all of that. What's your why for doing that?
My why, it comes down to what motivates me and what I enjoy. So I feel like I'm very fortunate to be able to make a living off of something that I just enjoyed doing when I was a kid. Like I was what you call a rink rat. Like I would just hang out at the local skating rink when I was younger, hang out with my friends there, skate around to the music, eat pizza in the snack bar with my buddies. So I've just always enjoyed skating. And now to have the opportunity and the privilege and to get to do this every day.
See what she did there?
I don't have to do it. I get to do it. I choose to do it. It's just, I couldn't imagine living a better life. Like I get to travel around the world, meet amazing people, go to amazing places with something that's also my job. So I feel like that's what keeps me coming back every day. It's because I just genuinely enjoy what I'm doing.
Would you say your why has changed now from when you were a kid or first stepping on the ice?
Yeah, it's definitely changed, because when you start to see the opportunities ahead of you and the possibilities, it just, yeah, everything gets bigger and more exciting.
Would you say that's the first step in goal setting, or how would you add that into your goal setting?
Which, like?
Figuring out your why.
Figuring out your why? Yeah, I think having a purpose for what you're doing really adds to helping you set your goals. So you figure out why you're doing this, why you want to do this. Like, do you actually want to skate? Are your parents making you skate? Like that sort of thing. So I really enjoy skating, and that's different from saying, oh, I show up every day like, yes, like let's get after it. That's not always the case. Some days you're a little tired and you don't want to get out of bed, but that's not your deep down why. Like your why is the overall everything. I enjoy skating, I enjoy what I'm doing. So that doesn't mean that I enjoy it every single day, but that means that my overall goal is to be something bigger in this sport, and I enjoy working toward that goal, even if there are ups and downs along the way.
Yeah, we just got to wrap it up, so quick fire. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
From Renee, perfect practice makes perfect. So that goes back to the skating with intention. So you're gonna show up and think, I'm gonna do this exactly the way I need to, or at least as best as I can. So just showing up ready to give 110%.
What's one thing that people in this room don't know about you that would surprise them?
Well, I feel like, I don't know if people know that I'm a really good sleeper. Like,
amazing.
Yeah, probably the best sleeper around. If they had medals for, yeah. If I sit down for too long, I'll fall asleep.
What does the rest of the season look like for you?
So our season just started. We just had the longest break that I've ever had. We just had a little over 2 months off, which has been really fun. But we just started training again last week, June 1st. And we're just doing this super hard summer training, a lot of bike riding, a lot of lifting, just, a lot of conditioning and things like that. So we'll be doing that until about August. And then in September, we'll get on the ice and ramp up for another season. We start traveling for World Cups in November. And then we have the World Championships in February or March. I don't know, but it's going to be super fun, and I'm excited.
What about blades?
Blades, I hope to be ready to skate on my blades come Outdoor Nationals. I did tear a ligament.
Everybody heard that, right?
I hope to be there. I tore a ligament in my knee about a month ago, so it'll be kind of dependent on that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we need to wrap this up, but we got about 2 minutes. Does anybody have any quick questions for Erin?
As you can tell, I love questions because I answered all of Mikey's.
Drink.
Oh, yeah. Everyone take a sip. Gage?
So you've been skating for a long time now. Do you ever lose the motivation and have to bring it back somehow?
The question is, at my ripe old age, do I ever lose motivation? And I would say yes. There are definitely ups and downs. There are some days where I don't feel like going out and skating however many laps out there in the cold, cold ice. But like I said, I just kind of go back to what my overarching goals are. And if my goal is to become Olympic champion again, I know what I have to do to get to that point. And in my mind, I have a really easy job. I just show up and do what my coach says. My coach is the one with the hard job. So I just show up ready to perform and do what my coach says. And then I know that even if I'm lacking motivation when I first wake up in the morning, I know that as soon as I get to practice, as soon as I see all my teammates, as soon as I get on that ice, I'm going to find it again because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. But to answer your question, yes, there are some days where just don't feel like doing it.
Legs aren't legging.
Legs are not legging. Brain is not braining.
Do you have any aspirations to coach?
Do I have aspirations to coach? I don't think I would want to be a full-time coach, but I like to help out here and there. I like giving little tips when I can, when I see them. But I don't know if full-time coaching is in the cards for me.
I think we got time for one more question. Anybody else? Gypsy, what do you got? Thank you for volunteering for questions.
After I have brownie.
You got brownies over there?
Oh, what we got?
Oh, yep. Oh, I see ya. Who's that?
Ezra.
What's up, Ezra? Which start? What are my options?
Every start there is. Which one's the way down the side?
I like it.
Oh, like that. Okay. My favorite start, let's see. Depends on what my goal is. So on inlines, right, if I really wanted to win the start, I would do a down start. But sometimes I didn't want to win the start. Sometimes I wanted to mess around in the pack and do some passings. Then I would do an up start, which I found to be not as fast for me personally. Down start, I could, get out of there like a rocket.
Yeah, that's
so
what I do.
that's what you do? Yeah, so
Down start.
you do a down start? I think down starts are cool. But now I'm a little bit older and I'm like, that's really far down. But yeah, back when I was inlining full time, if I knew I had to win the start, I would do a down start. Yes?
Where's your favorite position? Like, where on the spot? Like,
Straight to the track.
Where's your
Jiu-jitsu.
favorite start position?
Straight to the track.
My favorite start position,
Stay
I
straight.
think for indoor it would be cone. Cone was pretty fun. For outdoors, second or third position.
All right, that is
right.
all the questions. Thank you,
Yeah.
Erin. Everybody grab your skates, head to the track.
And I can answer questions at the track. You can ask me questions anytime.
Make sure you clean up all your trash.